My first few mushroom grows failed miserably, and I spent months trying to figure out what I was doing wrong. In this video, I'm going to show you the 3 biggest mistakes I made so you don't have to. Growing mushrooms at home has been one of the most rewarding hobbies I've ever picked up. I get to practice my green thumb, learn a new skill, and share all the mushrooms with the people I care about so they think I'm the man. But getting to the point where I have consistent growing success definitely wasn't easy. In fact, it came with a lot of growing pains. No pun intended. So I've narrowed down my biggest screw ups to just 3 that every beginner should know, and of course I'm gonna save the best for last. When I started out, I thought inoculation was simple. Inoculation is effectively just the injecting of the bag with your mycelium. All I would do is grab my spawn bag, pull out my liquid culture syringe, spray the injection port with a little alcohol, jam that thing in there, inject my liquid culture, and wait for mushrooms to grow, right? Wrong. See, here's what I didn't understand. In those couple seconds from uncapping my syringe to injecting it into the spawn bag, that syringe is picking up all kinds of bacteria that are just constantly floating in the air around us. And the second that it penetrates that bag, I'm not only injecting my mycelium, I'm also injecting loads of bacteria. And as you may or may not know, once bacteria get into your bag, it's game over. Defeat. You see, these bags are designed perfectly for mycelium to thrive, but those conditions, unfortunately, are also perfect for bacteria and mold to thrive. So instead of growing mycelium, I was growing these colorful, different contaminants that I really didn't want in my house. So the solution was to create a sterile air environment. Now there's kind of 2 methods that the casual mushroom grower can do that. That's going to be a still air box and a laminar flow hood. You can make a still air box yourself by taking a plastic tub and cutting a couple holes in it for probably like 20 bucks. Alternatively, you can buy these things already made off of Amazon for like 30 or 40 bucks. And they work by doing exactly what their name suggests. They hold the air still. So right now, as I'm talking in this room, there's bacteria, there's whatever floating all around. When you're in that still air box, there's minimal disturbance of the air since it's an enclosed space. And so those bacteria will not really be drifting through the air quite as much unless you're moving around real fast. And it's going to be a lot harder for them to get onto the syringe and into your spawn bags, which is exactly what we want to avoid. I'm not saying it's 100% effective, but it definitely dramatically increases your chances of success. In fact, since I started using a still air box like this one right back here, I haven't had a single batch of mushrooms get contaminated. Laminar flow hoods, on the other hand, are freaking awesome. They basically blow a steady stream of filtered air into the workspace so you can kind of work out in the open air and avoid contamination because that filtered air is blowing away any little bacteria and such that might drift into your workspace. The downside to them, of course, is that they're bulky and expensive. You could probably find a secondhand one on Facebook Marketplace for maybe $500 to $1,000, but they certainly aren't cheap. If you're not a professional mycologist, I think that a still air box will serve your purpose just fine. Quick takeaway here, avoid open air inoculation at all costs if you can. It's one of the fastest ways to ruin your grow. So I live in Southern California where we have warm summers but pretty mild winters. And I figured that mushrooms could grow indoors without a problem year-round. And in many ways they can, but I did have to learn the hard way that certain mycelium can be very temperature sensitive. Now this one won't necessarily ruin your whole grow, but it's definitely gonna have a negative effect on your yield, which we also don't want. Now for example, one winter I was growing oyster mushrooms in my bedroom, and overnight in the winter here, it can get down to the 40s or maybe low 50s inside my bedroom. But I sleep with that window open and that fan on high since I get way too hot when I sleep for whatever reason. Well, oysters are a tropical mycelium and they grow well in like the 65 to 85 degree Fahrenheit range, and they were getting way too cold. So they still fruited, but it produced really tiny, honestly, not really even usable fruits. So I ended up tossing them, and unfortunately that was a complete loss. However, I learned from my mistake when next summer rolled around. I was growing a different type of mushroom in a room that had a lot of windows, and so that sun shining through the window would make the room way warmer than the rest of the house. Well, I knew that I did everything right with this tub. There was no contamination, nothing weird, but for whatever reason, these mushrooms were growing in tiny and pretty sparse, and I had grown these same exact genetics a number of times, and I knew how they grow, and I knew that they weren't growing right. So after scratching my head and thinking about the issue a little bit, I thought that maybe the temperature was the problem. So I pulled that same mono tub out, I put it in another room that was a little bit cooler, and the mushrooms started growing like crazy. Not only did the quantity of them increase drastically, but the size increased about 4 times by weight. Fortunately, in this situation, I was able to save my mushrooms and not waste the whole grow. My key takeaway here is the importance of knowing your specific species and what they need. Different mushrooms or different mycelium require different amounts of humidity, air exchange, and temperature. So know what yours need and do your best to give them that. That way you'll be set up for success. As promised, this is the worst mistake I've made, perhaps the most important, or maybe one that gets overlooked a lot by new growers, and that is using grain spawn that wasn't fully colonized. This one's so frustrating because you don't really find out you made a mistake until the day or week that you're expecting some mushrooms to grow, and then you just see a giant bin of contamination. And that can be so frustrating. When I started my mushroom growing journey, I was using the Uncle Ben's tech, which are those pre-sterilized bags of microwavable rice, and they're super cool because you don't have to worry about any contamination inside the bag so long as your technique is dialed in. And once I got my technique dialed in, I didn't really have any concerns. The problem, however, with some of these Uncle Ben's or other off-brand ready-to-eat rices is that the bags aren't always transparent and you can't really see through and see if all your mycelium have colonized. So I would go by feel and kind of try to feel the bags of rice because they get a little more firm and a little more rigid once the mycelium have colonized everything. Well, once you're ready to open up those bags and transfer them to your bulk substrate, you would sometimes find that when the bag opens up, some of the rice wasn't colonized. Now I figured, whatever, I'm gonna throw some uncolonized rice in, I'm gonna throw my colonized rice in, bing bong, we'll be ready to go. And that was my fatal error. You see, uncolonized grain is like a magnet for contamination. The already colonized grain is pretty safe from contamination. Think about it like the mycelium have control of that territory. No bacteria or mold is really going to be able to steal those nutrients in that claimed territory from your mycelium, so we're safe.
Push! Break their wall!
Spears forward! Shields tight!
They're giving way! Wait!
These grains are under our care. Leave this place or be woven into the soil. That light?
Backlines, we can't breach it!
All those unclaimed territories, being the uncolonized rice, those are fair game, and the bacteria will swarm to those. Just like I said, the bacteria are constantly floating in the air around us. The second I opened that thing up and there was some uncolonized grain, it spelled trouble.
Hold the line, Hyphy! Do not let them breach the colony!
Your line is broken. This grain is ours. Bacterial hosts, claim the spawn.
So in hindsight, the real solution is take the colonized grain, break it off, and use that. Take all the uncolonized stuff and just throw it in the trash because it's no good anymore. Man, that happened to me a couple times early in my mushroom growing journey, and it was devastating. Now I pretty much grow everything in grow bags or mason jars anyway, so I can visually see if everything's colonized before I open up. But if I ever found myself in that situation again, I would just break off the uncolonized stuff and get rid of it. And those are my 3 biggest mushroom growing mistakes. The ones that cost me the most time, effort, and sanity. If you can avoid these mistakes, you'll be likely to save yourself months of frustration and drastically improve your chance of success. If you want to reduce your chance of contamination even further, I suggest making your own all-in-one grow bags, so after you inoculate them, you don't even have to play around with them anymore. And I show you how to do exactly that in this video right over here. And that settles that. Thanks for watching and happy growing.